it's my honor also to be here and just deliver my presentation about bias in everything in data and collecting the data. So I will. So it's fine, right? Right?
Yes, it's okay.
Yeah. So it's not navigating framework building bias free, and it seems that the screen just hiding the text. Okay. For free and fair fintech and AI. So first of all, I will just introduce myself. I'm Dr. Hiba Alsmadi, a lecturer in Teesside University of Department of Computer and Games. So all the time, I'm just working with AI and the human impact, and this is what I'm insisting also all the time with my students. There's projects that to be fair and having impact on humans, whatever the aspect they are using. And now I have many projects in AI, healthcare, sports science, and education, work on competitive grants, supporting a responsible AI UK and other future life institutes. So as we will go in this journey, we will go about how understanding the AI based and fintech policy and regulations now that it's coming in the world, what are they and what they are looking for, building bias-free systems, how we can build a bias-free system, what we need, and then for takeaway and future outlooks, what would be required to have fair systems. So that we have understanding AI in bias and tech. So we have different types of having biases. For example, if we can talk about historical data biases, like training data reflect the past discrimination, facial recognition. If I say an example, for example, what look like the physicists before and like olden times will look like. And systems that they will demonstrate faces of scientists, but mostly men. So that stereotyping or the vision that we need, we eliminated the women scientists part from this vision. Also, for example, if we like all the time we have this example of if you consider a square and you need to write or draw, let's say, a shoe. So everyone's you have a different types of shoes, but sometimes when you want the system to recognize one type of shoe. So it's called AI bias. So biased feature selection, which is that the proxy variables like zip codes and name indirectly encode to sensitive attributes. So you can indirectly be biased by choosing the variables or choosing the features. So, like for example, try to say that more years of education, that mean more smarter people. It's not true. It's biased, but like sometimes also the BMI, for example, for body mass index, that yeah, it's an indication of fat mass in the body, but it's not true. Sometimes the age, the gender, health issues, all plays a role in doing the fat body, for example. Algorithm design choices, interaction bias occurs when humans teach algorithms to recognize particular data instances in skewed ways. This is how we are, just like you need to for example, choose attributes for zip codes in certain areas than the other areas. So implicitly will be bias system. Deployment without this testing. So after we all know all what we need to test our system and have regular tests as well. So we just launched the system without diverse testing scenarios to amplify the bias across the real world application. So it will not include all the sample data or does not all the real data that we can include in the study. So In fintech, we have real-world bias examples, like significantly what it's doing, lowering the approval rates of certain demographic group despite the similar financial profiles. So there's just like it goes to different group, let's say professionals or certain areas. Postcodes also, they are functioning as a proxies, so they use it as a proxies like indication, the postcode, what is the social, let's say, status. At the same time, they're having assumptions that we need to have approval of this loan, we don't have approval for this loan, or we prefer these customers in these areas, not this areas. All these just can having a critical impact of bias like services that have served consequences of people livelihood. So this demographic that we and historical data are used not for loan approvals, for economic opportunities, which is not fair and not looking for the impact of humans or enhancing the lifestyle for humans or people. It's giving. We are choosing who will approve or not. So now, what it's matter? Why it's just now? It's now. If you notice and if you look at around in Google Scholar articles, and now all the trend, let's say now it's just like, is the algorithm is your system is fair, is not biased, is bias free? Because now we know all. Now we have the applications of AI techniques and different aspects like LLM or like OpenAI or generative AI or AI agents. A lot of data can be used and can be a system of produced, but at the same time now there should be regulations that give you the indication that this is fair, this is yes working system, but it's covered all the, let's say, the samples area or aspects. So we have regulatory compliance, so EU AI Act informants and FCA requirements are creating mandatory fairness standards. We have reputation management, so this is like public backlash and just discriminatory of AI and infertility damage brand trust or customer relationships. Revenue opportunities, so bias systems exclude profitable customer segments, leave money or on the table, something like that. Legal risk mitigation, which is that costing companies millions of settlement and damages. At the same time, now we have also talent advantages. Companies are actively seeking professional with AI fairness and expertise, that they are aiming to have systems that cover all the we call it sample, or just we call that, or aspects or different categories of people. So in a way that it will be used fairly for in the company, at the same time for the people, people. So what policy regulatory frameworks we have? I will just go through three: the African AUU and AI Act 2024 and UK Financial Conduct Authority FCA. They have their guidance for fair treatment principles. So let's go for the first one, EU AI Act. Now this is like a newly introduced a comprehensive AI regulations with specific requirements of high-risk AI systems, including financial services applications. Now what it's doing, just briefly, I just went through all the guidelines in three. It's just like a lot of guidelines, like a kind of like 60 or 80 pages. So we need to look at. So measures to prevent the mitigating algorithmic biases, transparency requirements or automating decision making, human oversight mechanisms for high risk applications. For the FCA, it just designs the guidance on fair treatment principles, specifically when tailored with financial services. It's all online, it's all available. Anyone can read it, so they can have a knowledge how to enable fair, thriving market for consumers and economy through consumer duty requirements, risk-based supervision, and algorithmic systems, principles-based approach in innovation and fairness. And all of us, like AI, let's say, people and doing like some let's say systems, whatever we are working on in universities or companies, we need to look at these regulations and we need to have a look how we can make our systems not bias free by following the guidance that we have according to our countries. Also, we have from the perspective of African and Nigerian context, we have some challenges, credit
But
files, millions of, yeah, credit files, millions of potential customers lacking of formal financial history. We have 60% plus informal economy workers. We need to solve this problem. Digital divide, which is smartphone ownership of reliable internet access, creating access barriers. So we have regulatory environment, the Central Bank of Nigeria. So they have issued this directive in querying license payment system to mitigate the ISO to 222 messaging standards, implement mandatory geographical identification of payment terminals, which is good. And we have a Nigeria data protection regulation also established data governance requirement of AI system handling the personal information. So the way how to handle the personal information and let's say keep the professional or the personal or the sensitive data safe in our economic transactions or anything. So the strategic opportunity or the things that we are looking for in Nigeria, which is build fairness into systems from the start rather than just or recatching later. So international standards, we looked at EU, AU, UK, Nigeria, and here some examples of organizations that already they are establishing principles of AI fairness. We have ISO IEC 4000, 42001, IEEE P7003, NIST AI risk management. This is very good organization that looks for trying to have a bias-free systems and bias-free employment, even like they are hiring women with alongside with men, so they can just not having a bias even in the working or in the employees working in their organization. Or OECD AI principles, international guidance emphasizing fairness, transparency, accountability, and human-centered value in AI systems. So these are, from this part 2 and 3, we are now aware what is the bias systems or just like the bias around us in machine learning or in our AI techniques. And now, as we saw that we have a lot of organizations that now are aware of how to set and build regulations and guidelines for humans to build a safe and bias-free systems. So building fair-free system comprehensive framework embedded fairness, transparency, and accountability into AI systems from inception through deployment. So there are 4 principles. We'll go into details, but as I said at the beginning, we need to look wherever you are. You are just a company, a data analyst, or any or even a student. You are going for a big project, or even an academics like me. So you need to look for these regulations. And also, I face some not problems, but we can say that some unbiases in systems that we are not deploying, but like when we discuss with other institutions, they say we need this, yeah, but we need to cover all the sample all the aspects of the system, and then you can having a working system, and then you can see the results. So fairness by design, embed fairness consideration by very first day development, ensuring equitably outcomes. So this is from the first step, which is the data collection, should be fairness. Transparency and explainability, which is make AI decision interpretable and understandable to users, regulations, and stakeholders. No secrets, no hidden things. Everything should be, no proxy variables, should be everything on table, start straightforward and very clear for both, like, let's say, the clients at the same time, the organizations, owners for the system. Accountability governance, establish clear ownership structure and define roles and responsibilities for AI ethics, continuous monitoring. We all know that we need to implement ongoing systems and validation for catch-up, bias, drift, or any maintenance variables fairness that we have over the time. So if we go in details, now we'll go into details of the in the four principles, fairness and design. So the core fairness metrics, understanding, this is the first, the core, understanding the problem. All the time I'm saying my students, you need to understand what is the fairness metrics and critical for building equitable AI systems. So you need to go, what is the objectives, what is meant to be this system, and who will get this benefit from this system. Should be all. So demographic parity, so we ensure equal approval of selection rates across the protected groups, not selective. Equalized odds, so maintain equal true positives and false positives rates across the demographics and calibration, which is verifying the predicted probabilities match actual outcomes consistently. So yes, again, like wrapping up what I already discussed. So the fairness starts from the very beginning of machine learning pipeline or any system that you are using by collective representative data samples to reflect real data, real world diversity. And this is really, we'll not say a problem, but we face this challenge that we need sometimes to find the sample, sometimes not. I decided, or just the student decided, yes, I need this sample to be under a study, not other samples. So if we need to be fair from the very beginning. Identify and avoid the proxy variables, as we mentioned, that proxy variables that can leading to unmeasurable, implicitly unmeasurable features. As we mentioned, like if we talk about body mass index, it's just like called a proxy variable because it is more like it's categorizing a little bit for people who's having more fat than the others, but at the same time, it's not that much true. Conduct comprehensive fairness testing before productive deployment. Of course, we need to test, we need to have a validation and evaluation for our system before deployment. Transparency and explainability, which is that why we have transparency matters. So as we mentioned at the first start, we need to follow the guidelines wherever we are, increase legal requirements and fundamentals. So right to explanation and EU AI Act mandate transparency for high-risk systems. User trust, so people more likely to accept. This is why we are using, we should be transparent, so they are they more likely to trust the systems, the AI, because at the same time now AI is to serve humans, not the opposite, not to replace or not to create biases between them. So we need to make sure that our systems are fairly used and fairly made. Debugging capability explainability help teams to identify fixed source of bias quickly. Of course, as we said, that the let's say, continuous maintenance and continuous testing will avoid these biases. Or tools and techniques, technically, I think in the upcoming sections also you'll talk about it in details. SHAP, we have provide features for importance analysis showing the inputs and drive predictions. We have local interpolated model longest explanation. LIME generates local explanation for individual predictions, or model cards, which is standardized documentations for detailed model behavior limitation and intended use cases. Now we'll go to principle 3, which is accountability and governance. From this side, we need to be clear ownership for designated AI ethics officers with authority and help deployment, build across functional teams spanning technologies, and establish a clear decision right for model approval and deployment. Robust governance, we are just also create AI ethics review boards, and again, this is very trendy now, and this is like, let's say, all people for AI aspects, they are asking themselves, is it fair to use this system for example, another sample data? Or is it fair that this system is just like to use it with the same students or the same sample, let's say, sorry, with a different environment? So this is one of my colleagues, a professor in business school. She was telling me, are you sure that that the system that you created, for example, let's say diagnosing heart disease, for example, just roughly, is it going to work in every right on every sample of the hospital? Even in UK, we didn't go outside the UK. So it was a big question and there was a big debate at that time. Yes, it's so that she's having a point, but at the same time, we need to create AI ethics review boards to evaluate high-risk systems, maintain comprehensive documentations for all development decisions, and implement detailed audit trails capturing model versions and changes. So if you do that, maybe it will be working for more data or more or aspects, all categories of data. Principle 4, which is continuous monitoring, which is the very required step all the time. And for whom are working in companies, they know how much it's not the deployment of the system is more important than the monitoring or just follow up with the system. So AI system don't remain static after deployment. There's a lot of change, data drift, input distribution shift over the time, use populations and behaviors evolve. Sometimes companies, they want to deploy the same system in different countries or different cities. So you need to adjust this, or you need to at least test the bias. In this case, behavior changes, user interaction, and patterns change, affecting model performance. Emerging groups and new protected groups may emerge the required consideration. So by reviewing fairness metrics monthly at the minimum, you need to track also user appeal and complaint and early warning signals, configure automated alert when metrics degrade beyond the threshold, conduct a quadrately deep dive audits for model behavior. So this is the, let's say, the basics, or let's say the major points we need to follow when we have a deployed system, and we need to have it bias free all the time. So we need to look for behavior changes. We need to look for, now it depends. Sometimes it's by, you need to expand the system, or if you want to just to change the category of I are looking for. So whatever it is, so you need to have the following of the guidelines. You need to follow this is the first. You need to be fair from choosing the data and doing your system and try to have a continuous monitoring as it's required all the time, just to having this system just behaving well, let's say, and be fair for all people. And at the end, we need, as we said, that we need to AI to serve us as humans. We are healing with algorithms, not the opposite. So building a fair AI system requires commitment, expertise, and ongoing vigilance, and uh, but the reward is transformative. So takeaways that we have fairness is not non-negotiable. Now we are just, as we mentioned, that we have a lot of institutions in different countries that they are aware of that and they are issuing guidelines to follow. And even the companies, they need to have deployment of systems that are fair and bias-free. Data quality first, the foundation of fair of AI, higher quality representative data, fix the data issues before investing in complex algorithmic solutions. It's the very, very basic and the very, I call it like this is the major task after deployment or deciding which AI technique that you can use. Design. So you design embedding fairness by designing the start exponentially more effective than cost effective. So like you need to have you start from the beginning how when the designing to have a fair and not having like a biased image or vision or let's say personal let's say desires or something like that. But it's not personal by the term personal, but like it's from the company or the organization point of view, of course. Never stop testing, and this is we said that it's continuous monitoring is essential. Data changing, new biases and violation, or just like sometimes we need to apply it in more organizations. So we need to even the organization itself it's getting a bigger or something like that. So we need to include more data. So we need to be fair, and we have to be monitoring all the time just to have consistent bias-free systems. So if we talk about the future of fair AI, I think now we are all just aware of that, and the evidence of that. This is the event that we are in all that. This is very important. So to build a bias-free systems. So organizations are shifting from addressing the bias after deployment to preventing from the beginning, as we mentioned. International frameworks are aligning around the common fairness principles, creating consistency across the market and just directions. And we have also accessing and testing tools. Now there we have a lot. So that is just making accessible to team for all sizes. And I think the bigger companies, they are providing these tools, just like the advanced tools to having bias-free systems, fair AI becoming market differentiator, companies that they look for fairness when the customer trust and loyalty, of course. So reputation, it's building about reputation. It's not like when we have like small ones and at the end we have a big one. It's better than have a big one and then we lose the trust of people in this organization. Career opportunities, this is very massive demand now. And during my journey and my readings, and that feels like now testing the algorithms to be biased or not, testing the algorithms that they're detecting the biases or not. Now this is the trend, to be honest. And it's under massive demand, as I mentioned. So as I mentioned before, AI, its ethics is very important, and AI is just to serve humans. We need to direct the AI to serve our demands. At the same time, we're healing with algorithms. Thank you for listening, and I'm ready for any questions.
Thank you, Dr. Hiba. That was incredibly insightful, especially your four principle framework, fairness by design, transparency and explainability, accountability and governance, and continuous monitoring. These are exactly the foundations we need. And thank you very much for your time. We're just going to move straight, to the question and answer section because time is not so much on our side, and we don't want to keep everybody waiting for too long. So the first question I'm seeing on the chat, I think this is for Dr. Hiba. And the question is saying, what are the most common source of bias in AI system and how do they manifest in practice? So Dr. Hiba, please, you have about 60 seconds for us, please.
Yeah. Again, what was the question?
The question is, what are the most common source of bias in AI system and how do we manifest in practice?
Okay, so
how do they manifest in practice?
yeah, the most common sources is the data, as we mentioned before. So you need to be careful when collecting the data. You need to be careful when trying to cover all the categories or the aspects that we need. At the same time, pre-processing, even the feature selection, we need to avoid the proxy variables. So this is from the beginning. If you start working fairly from the beginning, it will. This is the main sources of the biases. And the other part of the question, sorry, while.
How do they manifest in practice? How do they manifest in practice?
And now in practice, we need to, first of all, if you are an employee, you need to look more. What is the company or the institutions look for? What are the regulations that you need to follow? This is like before beginning. At the same time, you need to have a knowledge what is the fair system, what is not fair system, or the bias system, bias-free system. What is it? So we need to now you need to go in deeply according, let's say, I'm all the time saying example of an AI analyst or AI person in a company. So you need to be aware of these things. At the same time, what is the institution intentions? All this, when you collect all these data, with all these information, with the proper source of the data and proper pre-processing and manipulation of the data, so you will get out with a bias-free system. At the same time, as we mentioned, with continuous monitoring. It's not that deploying experiment and you have the outputs. No, it's more than this.
Thank you very much, Dr. Hiba. That really, that was really great.